Hello, my name is Natalia Levenkova. I'm General Manager of Customer Success at Satori. One of my responsibilities is implementation of Satori monitoring solution. And I would like to use this opportunity to share my experience in third-party risk monitoring. Can you actually trust who you're working with, be it a customer or a supplier or even an employee? The questions to ask yourself: how can you be sure you know who you are working with? Are you confident they're still who you think they are? Are you aware of what is happening outside your organization that might have an impact on its business processes? We can confidently answer yes to all these questions if we use internal data together with external data to better understand what is going on with the critical parties, and we monitor these data sets continuously. As an example, what would happen at your company if a supplier went into administration on the eve of Christmas? On the 20th of December 2021, a company one of our customers dealt with for many years suddenly went in administration. They had a good record and great credit history. There were no indicators of this event until the ASIC papers were lodged right before Christmas. And most likely, most of the customers of this failed company were already on leave and became aware of the situation much later, when it was already too late to take any actions. For example, stop payments from going out, and even more so to assess the impact on the current projects. Luckily, our customer implemented Satori's monitoring solution over a collated data set from multiple external and internal data sources. So the external data sources covered the following data points: credit risks and number of credit inquiries for any specific supplier, ABN and GST status, such as whether the company is registered for GST and if they have active ABN record. Directors data, sanctions, politically exposed persons lists, adverse media. And they used it in conjunction with the internal data sets on current invoices, open purchase orders, returns, disputes, complaints, contracts, as well as average spend and frequency of spend with each supplier. So our system generated a new alert on the 21st of December, and this alert basically detected that the vendor was in administration, and just before that there was a spike in the number of credit inquiries. But also on top of that, they could see on the alert that there were 5 invoices due to be paid, and also multiple open purchase orders. So what they could now do, they stopped the payments. Some of those payments, most of those payments were prepayments, and some for the services not yet delivered. Otherwise, this money would end up in the hands of the administrators. Furthermore, they knew that they needed to find new suppliers to not disrupt the current projects and not cause any further delays that may cost even more to the company. So basically, without having access to the third-party data sources and combining it with the internal data and ongoing monitoring of all these data sets, there wouldn't be a chance for them to actually identify this issue and action it proactively, preventing greater losses. I just want to share a few more recent examples. So it shows that these kind of things happening all the time, and you need to be prepared and monitor for that. Due to increased levels of scrutiny over reputational risks, ongoing risk monitoring becomes more and more crucial. And we can see that from our experience, even though the majority of the companies have quite mature and comprehensive onboarding processes, it is only done once at the time of the onboarding. And they check in some critical details, such as ABN and ASIC records, bank account details. Sometimes they might check directorship or credit score rating, and so on and so forth. So it is not easy to risk assess the companies, even during this onboarding process, because it involves numerous checks. It is even more difficult because some of these things based on other circumstances out of our control or knowledge. And another challenge is also to know when we need to recheck or reassess them. It is almost impossible to monitor potential changes in the thousands or even tens of thousands of records you might have in your master files even once a year, and it's not frequent enough. So how can you be sure your suppliers or customers are still who they were at the time of the onboarding? One of the classic examples, we see it all the time, is a change of directors. The change may mean that this is now a completely different company to the one you onboarded years ago. And it also might change the relationship that have been originally established with this company. Another question is how you can monitor your internal risks. For example, potential conflict of interest or collusion between employees and suppliers. In one of our solutions implementations, we focused on the core conflict of interest tests around matching employees to employees and employees to suppliers based on some parameters such as names, addresses, bank accounts, telephone numbers, and so on and so forth. So what we were trying to identify is relationships that are undisclosed or conflict of interests which are undeclared. And in most of cases, if they declare those conflict of interests, they would pose no issues. And this was exactly the case for this particular company. When we started running our algorithms, no major issue identified. However, eventually the customer updated the HR system and they needed all the employees to enter some additional information around their next of kin and their contact details. And that meant that our algorithms started using this data too. And we've got a hit. We had a match on one of the employees next of kin with the contact for the recruitment company on the telephone number. And this was an undisclosed relationship. So one of the employees of the company was in a relationship with a director of the company. And it wasn't a big deal initially, but then further investigation showed us that the recruitment company was paid 2% more than any other agent. Their share of recruitment had gone up from 10% to over 74% of all recruitment across the whole company. And they were also promptly paid on offer for position within 7 days. In conclusion, I would like to highlight again the importance of the 3 key components I talked about earlier: use of external data in conjunction with your internal data, ongoing monitoring, So you need to monitor it as often as possible, ideally daily, and also connecting disparate data sets to shine a light on potential risks. And we at Satori have implemented our monitoring solution across many of the top 200 companies in Australia to help them to manage their third-party risks. Thank you so much for your time.